So welcome back everybody to the channel. It's a lovely Saturday and today I decided I'd do something a little bit different from the normal standard farming that I'd be at. I decided loads of people have been asking me to do farm tours and things like that, and farm tours, you see them every day on YouTube. What I decided I'd do instead is I'd give you my top 10 of equipment that I find the handiest on my farm. So we're going from 10 being the less used to 1 being the most important. So without further ado, let's get into it. Post driver. Post driver is a super bit of kit to have. Very, very useful on our farm and be useful on any farm. They're just simply super. Be able to just hook on your own post driver and go over and fix a few posts or put up a new bit of fencing. It's just brilliant. It's a real comfort to have your own. But they're not that really expensive. And I definitely think if you do think of going down that lane, it's a piece of equipment that's definitely worth investing in because it will pay for itself over and over again, if not financially, in comfort. And this one here, if we look around, this one here has got an actual side tilt on it. So you can see you have a ram here just on the one side rather than the other side. So just means that basically if the ground is uneven, you can move the tilt up and down. Just means it can level itself on uneven ground. But it's a great bit of kit. You just lift it up, take the 2 legs off. Very easy to put on and very, very easy to work. You just have to be careful. As I say, at the end of the day, it is a very, very, very heavy weight and you just have to be really careful and watch what you're doing. I highly recommend a post driver. And they're alone if you have the choice of going for it. Super well built, really, really good. It's nearly on 3 or 4 times each month doing jobs, and it's so easy to put on, so easy to take off. It's just a super bit of kit to have. I'm sorry I've been squinting a wee bit. The sun is pretty strong this morning because it's quite early in the morning. It's just hitting me on direct here, but we'll batter on through it and we'll see how we get on. So, link box. Can't be without a link box. No farm should be without a link box. You buy them cheap, even new, they're not overly expensive, but it doesn't have to be a power box. It can be an ordinary 3-pint linkage box. It's a great bit of kit to have. Look at it, if it's carrying meal, carrying posts, clean out sheds, getting rid of your daughter's first boyfriend. This is a Nugent one. I had a Woods box before. The Woods box was a 6 foot, this is a 7 foot. The reason I went for the 7 foot is it's slightly wider than the tractor, so that I can go along the barriers and I can get in tighter without the wheel of the tractor hitting the barrier and scrape the silage away if I have to do that. And that has been a great, great benefit. At the time I couldn't get the Woods, there wasn't in stock, so I went and I bought the Nugent. In fairness, it wouldn't be as heavy a box as the Woods box was. Woods make great, great power boxes. I don't know about the rest of the machinery because I've never had them, but I presume they're just as good. But they're known for making one of the best link boxes out there. Just wasn't in stock, so I bought the Nugent. It's fine for my job. I don't do any major heavy work with it. Another thing I wish I had got different was I wish I had got a double ram rather than a single. It's a big ram, it's slow, and it nearly made me take it back after about 6 months of owning it. I was nearly going to trade it in and get a double one. I wasn't overly happy with it. It was my own mistake to buy a single ram. I would have liked it with a double. The Woods would have come with a double. So I wouldn't be surprised if you might see a Woods box arriving here sometime soon because of that. But it's well constructed. I can't fault Nugent on that. And as I say, it's one of those pieces of kit that's just so versatile on any farm, and it's something that every farmer or anyone that has a tractor should have. So as you might have seen on a previous video, one of my first 20 videos that I made when we started this channel last September was off the Bale splitter, this little boy here. That video I think is at 110,000. It was by far the highest viewed video that we ever got. Loads of people were just interested in it. It was just the simplest video I ever made, just giving a quick review on what I thought of the Bale splitter. So if you want to know more about the Bale splitter, watch that video and it'll explain everything in detail. Our silage feeding equipment is it's on definitely the top one there. It made a huge difference to us when we bought it. Something that was just completely priceless now on our farm. There's very little can go wrong with it, and nothing has ever went wrong with this. I did remove the guard I had my reasons, that video will explain, I'll not go into it now, but I did have to remove it for several reasons. But otherwise, a really good piece of kit to have. It has saved my back wonders. I severely hurt my back a good few years ago, just by being in Egypt. Simple as that. Lifting stuff, shouldn't have been lifting. But I was pulling at bales in the winter time and shaking them out in front of the cows, and that was really hurting my back. Really was. Since the Bale sprayer came, just chop the bale in half, and it's the easiest thing. The bales is now the easiest thing to handle on our farm. The pit silage now is the one that causes the most amount of work, because you do a lot of graping with it, especially in a double house slatted shed where you can't get in with anything to push it to side, so you have to grape it all back. So the pit silage now is the one that's awkward. The bales are a pleasure because of this little device here. So the next part of our feeding equipment would be our Nugent bale lifter. I bought this new about 2 years ago, so it's on its third season now this year when we do make bales. I really like it. I took it home first and I didn't like it, I'll be honest with you. I didn't like it at all when I used it the first time. The gap between the two bales was too wide, as I thought. So I didn't notice it until it was delivered, and I said, it seems very wide, it seems very far apart. But when I got used to using it, it actually was much better. The reason being is when we tip up our bales, that's probably designed for it so that you can be able to walk up between your bales. Now yes, it takes up a little bit more room. It's not much, it's very little amount of room, but it's nice to be able to walk up between your bales and check them that there's no holes and things on them, and I found that great. So it was just something I didn't notice when I purchased it, but I'm happy now that I did. Really well constructed, really strong, a brilliant piece of kit to have for moving all your bales around. We do take bales home from our other farm in twos on this, get them ready for feeding. We just leave them in the yard then, and it just makes life a lot easier. But definitely a nice bit of kit to have is a Nugent double bale lifter. Now this was a rear mounted shear grab with the mask. You'll see it on other videos there if you look back. But we are currently fitting a quickie loader to our case. As you can see here at the minute, we have a couple of items already purchased. But last night, we walked till pretty late, and we got the first side of the bracket on. We've the other one just sitting here at the minute, waiting to be put on. So we're going to do that one maybe tonight or over the weekend. But once we decided to do that, we took the head off our shear grab, and with Euro brackets kind of semi-welded on, we just have to finish them off, and they're just kind of stuck in place at the minute. But a shear grab is definitely something that's really handy around our farm. When you're making a silage bit, you have to be able to get the silage out of it, so you can't do it without a shear grab. So there's always been one here. Used to be a long one of them scissor type grabs, again mounted on the back of the tractor, and the levers come into the cab. It was alright if you yoke. It was very handy for throwing bales and things into a ring feeder if you had to, but for getting a nice clean face on your silage pit, keeping it sealed, shear grab is the only way to go. So this is a Johnson 4'6". We used to have a 4 foot, then we upped the extra 6 inches, which made a big difference. It's nice to have a good sized block, and it fits in nicely just into the sheds that we're putting them into. So it made more financial sense to me to actually break up my own shear grab instead of going out to buy a new head, because a lot of people were telling me I should have kept my old shear grab intact in case the case would ever break down, and you'd always have it as a backup. Didn't really bother me. I'd happily go out and buy another shear grab for that purpose, because it still would work out an awful lot cheaper than trying to buy a head on its own. So that's why I decided to use my own head of my own shear grab and just convert it. So that's the third and final part of our feeding equipment. And that brings us to our sprayer, Abbey Sprayer. Loads of people have been messaging me about this sprayer because I've never seen one before. They never even knew that Abbey made a sprayer. Funny enough, neither did I. I just seen this in a local dealership. I didn't go to buy this, I went to buy a different model, and I seen this. It's a good little piece of kit. Spraying is very important, especially for us. We're spraying for Dawkins. We had an awful lot of Dawkins on our farm, so we've always had a sprayer back as far as I can remember. We had a couple of Hardy sprayers, which were great. Just they weren't galvanized and had a little tendency to rust. So I said this time I'll go for something with a galvanized frame, and that's why I changed from the Hardy sprayer. But Abbey, I seen it in the forecourt. It looked really good. It looked really heavily constructed, as you can see there. No, there's nothing overlooked. It is really strong. I like the way the filter system is on it as well. I just liked the overall design of it. I like the controls. everything just looked big, bulky, and looked like it would last, and which it has. It hasn't given me any bother whatsoever. Just really well put together, the tank and all, the frame. It just caught my eye there and then, and I just said, yeah, it's something that I was really interested in. You have your pints here on the side here for filling. It all came with its hose and everything. To do all that, you come and deny me. You come and deny me in the middle of me doing my video. Bought this about 3 years ago, and this is my 3rd season. I haven't had it out this year. I will have it out, and I will make a video on it and a review. So subscribe, and you'll see that in time to come. But hopefully now in the next few weeks, as the weather dries up, we do see a lot of dockings coming now after that bit of drought that we had. So we will be hitting it with spraying now, hopefully coming in towards the autumn time. So you will see it going. But I'm really, really happy with it. I'm really happy with the way it's designed. Abbey make good sprayers. Tip and trailer. Tip and trailer is a great bit of kit to have. Yeah, definitely so. This one has done a world of work. I bought it in a place called Mount View Engineering, which is in Canningstown in County Cavan. The first piece of machinery I actually ever bought. I was 16 when I bought this. Again, we're borrowing people's stuff. That time people did borrow a lot between each other. It's hard to beat having your own. I had a couple of big jobs coming up, and I just said I'd bite the bullet and I'd buy my own. I'd saved up the money for it, and I just went out and bought it. I looked at a few in dealerships. They were made by manufacturers, and I couldn't find anything nearly as heavy as this. So I got it made, and made to my own specifications. It's got a really, really, really strong floor in it. There's not a dent kind in it, and it has hauled stones, channel, everything you could throw at it, it was thrown at it. And it hasn't even dented the floor. Cosmetically, yes, it needs a bit of a clean up, maybe. But having said, it's a long time here. There's brakes on it, and there's LEDs in the back. The only thing I probably would have done different with, if I was doing it again, I'd probably buy super singles rather than the double wheels. Double wheels were popular at that time, but I had the choice of going for the singles, and I didn't. If I was doing it again, I probably would. No major disadvantage, but it just, you don't drag as much muck out on the road with the singles as you would with the obviously double tire, and then you have 4 tires instead of 2, so that's another thing to consider. But never had a puncture yet. And the tires are still original, and they're a bit perished. I might probably do it a change down the line, but for now it's still okay. So you see, she's always working. We're just stripping off the silage bit here, as you can see at the minute, getting ready for a second cut. So we're just lightly stripping it off, and so we don't have to do it all in one day. We do it over a couple of days, and just getting thinking about cutting our second cut, because we will be taking the cover off and putting a second cut into the pit. But as you can see, it's always doing something, and that's why it's such an essential piece of kit to have on any farm. Cattle trailer, an important one. Cattle trailer is very handy on every farm. If you're handling cattle, you need a way of moving them. We're lucky our farms are fairly close together, but we still need our trailer. This is an Ifa Williams. Yes, it's not a new shiny trailer or anything. It's actually quite an old trailer, but I've looked after it pretty well. I bought it second hand, but I've done a lot of work to it recently. I put a new floor into it, so I replaced the timbers with treated timber, and then I put a new checker plate, one complete checker plate over the whole lot. So it looks factory done. New tires, new brakes, LED lights all around. So the trailer itself is solid as a rock. I have no reason to buy anything new at the moment. I don't do enough of traveling on the road with it to justify that, so it's fine. I'll just look after it, and I'll get many years out of it yet. But just keeping it washed inside just works wonders for trailers, because a lot of trailers get used a lot, and cow dung and things builds up inside, gets to lie there maybe for a couple of weeks and you forget about it. So I find it's very handy. As soon as you use it, wash it. It's easy to wash out then. It's not baked on, and it's just simply the way to go. So cattle trailer is a very handy tool to have. And Ifa Williams seems to be quite good. And as they say, what goes in must come out, so you need a slurry tank to get rid of it. Whether it's a muck spreader you need or a slurry tank on your farm, makes no difference. You'll need some way of getting rid of slurry on your farm. So a slurry tanker is something you will see on most farms. So I started off, my first tanker I ever bought was a Connor. It was actually a 750. We had that tank for a long time. I didn't buy it, actually my brother bought it. We used the devil out of it. It was a great tank, but it was just too small when we bought the other farm. It was just too far away, and you're back and forth, and my head was just going crazy. So I bought a brand new 1100 Abbey, and had it for a long time, but again, size, we got a bigger tractor and size was an issue then again, so we got the bigger tractor, but I didn't want to invest in a new slurry tank that time because it was only after buying the tractor. So I seen this pop up, 1600. It's on the small wheels, or the Russian wheels as we call it, but extremely good tank. I like the 1600 gallon tank. It's just, I think it's just a perfect size for a farmer. We're on steep ground, so sometimes when I'm on the steepest ground I don't fully fill it. So it's versatile and it's just really, really nice behind the tractor that we have, which is around 130 horsepower. It's still in good condition. We put new brakes on it there recently. We just look after it. It's got LED lights fitted onto it too. I did all that myself, just to tidy things up and make sure that at least everything is working right. When I bought it, I got the pump reconditioned. I knew that it was taking a little bit too long to build up pressure, so we had it reconditioned. It wasn't the biggest job in the world. I just knew then it was going to last me for several years. But when I bought it, I wasn't actually planning on keeping it very long. I was just trying to solve a problem for about a couple of years until I saved up to buy a new tank or something much fresher. But it's sitting here now 5 years and I've no intentions of getting rid of it, so there you go. It was a good purchase. But having said that, there's no point in taking a slurry tank home if you haven't got something to mix the slurry with. Like a lot of yous, I used to get contractors in to mix our slurry tank, and it was grand. Yes, it worked the best, but fortunately you wouldn't get your contractor when you wanted them. You couldn't blame them for not coming. They could be busy at silage and things like that, and you just have to wait your turn. But unfortunately that didn't always work because weather was going to break and things like that, and you were just left then with the slurry tank mixed and then not able to put it out. Also, I'd like to go out an odd time and spread on paddocks and things, just maybe 2 or 3 tanks at a time. So you can't be asked the contractor to come up and keep giving it a quick store every so often because it's not really practical for them. I used to borrow it then when I had a 698, a little bit more power, 698 turbo when I had it, but it was 15 mile away and that was awkward. It took me about an hour or so to go and get it and bring it back, and it wasn't always available either, and it was just awkward. So bit the bullet about 12 years ago I think now and bought this one. It was a great decision because it has left life so much easier, and that's what it's about, just making things a little bit easier on the farm. This is the NC Super 3000, fully galvanized. I said this time I'd just go a little bit extra and get the galvanized version because you know yourself, it's something, no matter how well you clean it, it's always going to rust. And I just said I'll go galvanized and at least I'll get a little bit more life out of it. Say this one's in really good condition still. I clean it after I use it. It does need a little bit of a seal done in here, or just the seal bought, I just have to change it. Just a little rubber seal that lets the slurry maybe go up, too much slurry go up and come out of the top. So it's only after going there in the last few weeks. Have it got, cheap little item, so I'll be installing that easily now in the next few days. But otherwise it has never been in a workshop, it has never got any work done to it. It's just always been hooked on and done its job. And NC have been known for making good machinery, so that was why I went with it. We did look at an Abbey as well, and I just liked the design of the NC overall, so we ended up going with it. It was one that was in our local dealer in stock as well, which helped. So that's it, NC agitator, good for mixing things up. Disc mower. This is a Stoll 2405 8-foot disc mower. I bought this about I'd say about 6-7 years ago now. Changed from the topper to disc mowing, and it has made such a difference on our farm. There'll be a video up very shortly of showing the difference between a disc mower and a topper, and I'm really looking forward to showing you that because there are so many benefits of owning a disc mower versus a topper. It is just great. I can't brag it enough. This mower, for instance, hasn't given us any trouble. Touch wood. There's no wood nearby. I wish there was, but there's not. It hasn't given us any trouble. It's even still on its original blades. I've swapped them around and I've sharpened them maybe once a month to just give them a quick roll at the grinder. I've gone through cow dung and things, and that can tend to blunten the blades ever so slightly, but otherwise than that, nothing has had to be done to it. Definitely a nice bit of kit to have. Yes, a little bit more expensive, quite a bit more expensive than a topper, but if you need to mow out a paddock or pre-mow, you rely on the grass to be just of a certain quality, and with a disc mower, the type of grass you get growing back is exactly what a dairyman would want, even a beef man. So it's an investment that I was unsure of when I went to buy it. I didn't go to pick this disc mower up that day. It was actually a topper I was buying, but I got talked into buying the disc mower, not by the dealer, but actually a fella I met on the forecourt. And I took the plunge and bought the disc mower, and I'm really glad I did. Something I'll never do without now. Disc mower is here for good. And that's JF, particular one, has never let me down, and I've been really happy with it. This one also has a little bit of a ram on the side here where you can just, rather than lifting your arms up and down, you can pull the spool valve and you can just tilt up and down ever so slightly. So it'll lift itself up and down on an axis here, and that means you can just lift it when you go around your corners, and you don't have to lift the back arms at all when you're mowing with it. So this mower is a brilliant bit of kit to have. Fertilizer sower. Yeah, fertilizer sower is something you cannot do without. If you want to grow grass, you have to sow fertilizer. It's as simple as that. This is an Amazon 902. It's about 11 years old now, but it's still in really good condition. I've been really happy with it. It has done my job. The only thing I would be getting Amazon for is that split chute on the bottom. It's okay, but when you're working on uneven ground, even if you're not working on uneven ground, when you're finishing off your sowing, if you're just finished for the day and you want to just get the sower empty, it doesn't just empty as clean as I'd like it. There's always seems to be some left on the bottom that you're washing out in the yard, but you also have to get out, lift the things and throw it over these sides just to even it out. That's the only little disadvantage I have against it, but otherwise sows really well, really even, a nice sower to work with. Obviously hydraulic opening and closing like in all these, most of these sowers nowadays. I fitted LED lights on it just because when I'd lifting it fairly high, it was even really with the back lights of the tractor, especially if a car was very close beside you so they couldn't see if you were turning. So I stuck a set of LED lights on it, and that just left it an awful lot safer. Amazon's known for making good stuff. Quality in this is no exception. I really can't fault it. There's nothing that's ever went wrong with it. Again, it's one of those pieces of tools on the farmyard that has never given us any trouble, and when it does that and get 11 good years out of it, I'm happy with it. Down the line we'll change it. Whether we go Amazon again, don't know. I may look at a different model just because of that split bin in the middle. I know it's there for different reasons, but it just doesn't suit me overly well. I don't like having to hop out of the tractor and keep leveling it out by hand just to get the whole thing to finish off a kind of even. That's a little bit of a disadvantage for me. Underneath you've got the stainless steel panel guard there just to make sure the stuff isn't coming towards the front of the tractor, which is good. It's great that it's stainless steel so it'll not rust. Little bits of rust coming in now, just starting to, but we just treat it with diesel and things in the winter time, and that definitely stands to it. But certainly a fertilizer sower is a critically important thing on a farm, and a good one is important to make sure that it's sown even. We've had wagtails, we've had them all, they've been grand. I still think the disc spreader is the way to go. Some people have been telling me on comments and things when you've seen this one working on previous videos that it's not called a fertilizer, it's not called a bag stuff sower, it's called a fertilizer spreader. You're probably right. Yes, so I apologise for calling it the wrong thing, but this is my bag stuff sower and I'm going to sow like mad with it. The most expensive stuff that runs to the farm will all come out the bottom of that chute below, because fertilizer is definitely one of the most expensive inputs on a farm, and making sure that it's spread right is very important. So get a sower that is very good at sowing, which this one is. It is really good, really even at sowing, and I really like it for that, above any wagtail that we've ever had previously. So just a little bit of extra stuff as well before we go on to number one is this quickie loader. This is a quickie 340 loader that we bought about 2 months ago. Probably next year, if I was to do this same video, there'll probably be a couple of things different maybe in the top 10. And I'm hoping this will be right up there. We have a bucket gut, a 6 foot new bucket gut for the front of it. So there's little bits and pieces happening all the time. There's also another bit of very important machinery that we're after just purchasing back again this year, a few months back. We'll have a look at it now. So as we walk in here to another piece of equipment that's probably going to be right up there as being important on the farm, well hopefully it will be if it's reliable, is a purchase that we're working on at the minute. We're doing a series on this, so I don't want to really show too much because this will be part of the next series. So this is obviously a hedge cutter. It's a McConnell PA93. It's the high power version, and it's something I bought about 2-3 months ago now, maybe 3 months ago, and I always wanted one just to be able to do our own hedges and things. So, but we're currently restoring it, so we're doing a series on that. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe and you'll be fit to follow that. Episode 1 is already out. Episode 2 is coming very, very shortly. So keep an eye out for that one. We're also doing a series on the quickie loader being fitted, so that's another one to watch out for. Episode 2 on it will be coming very shortly as well. So there's just plenty of stuff always happening, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you are. More importantly, hit that little bell on the right hand corner. That will notify you when these videos do come up, so you don't miss any. And in number 1, you have to have a tractor of some sort. Horse and cart isn't just going to cut it anymore, so if you want to use any of the items that was listed earlier on, you have to have something to put it on. A tractor is definitely an essential piece of kit on any dairy farm, or any farm for that matter. We have 2. This is our yard tractor, as we call it. This is a 95 horsepower, you may say, Case International. It's an 895. You've probably seen it in other videos, those of you that are subscribed and following our channel. Great little machine. It's getting a loader fitted onto it very, very soon, which is going to really make it handy. But it's just our run around for doing small jobs around the farm. As you can see at the minute, it's got a mower on the back, which spends most of its summer months topping behind the cattle, and that is his main job. It's a very dirty job because the leaves are absolutely plastered, but it keeps the big tractor from getting dirty, because the big tractor spends a lot of his time on the road. Smaller wheels doesn't hold as much muck when you're doing jobs like this, because you tend to be, as you can see, plastered in muck. You don't want to be going out on the roadside with dirty wheels and things. So if the big tractor was in there with bigger tires and maybe a little bit more grip, plasters the roads. So that's our little case. 95 horsepower, great little tool around a yard. So this is our Massey 6470. It's around about, I think it's around about 130 horsepower. Piles of power, as I call it. It's the pocket rocket. It's piles of power for the size of it. It's a 4-cylinder. So basically you could nearly equivalent to a 6480 in a 4-cylinder version. I wanted a 4-cylinder as the first 4-cylinder we had around the yard, because it's more compact, more economical, and just suits my needs, which is the most important thing. Buy a tractor that suits your needs. Don't just buy something because it's big and because it's shiny. Buy what you need and try to stick to that. A lot of things about buying a tractor is, there's a couple of pointers. Number 1, what are you going to be using it for? Number 2, how long are you going to keep it? So you have to judge your mind. If you're going to buy bigger machinery in the future and you're going to tend to keep your tractor a little bit longer, buy something that's going to have enough of horsepower. I always say go for about 20 more horsepower than you think you might need. That should keep you okay for a good few years. And number 3, something that has good backup, so you have somewhere that you can easily get parts for and people to work on it, because these tractors are going to break down. It doesn't matter if it's red, if it's blue, or even green and yellow. And the 6470 tends to do the biggest jobs. It tends to do all the slurry work, fertilizer sowing, things like that. It's my go-to tractor. But by far the most used tractor on our farm is the Case, because especially this time of year, when as the topping and things has been done, it's just a great little tractor to jump on and do a couple of simple little jobs. And I'm hoping the loader that's going on it very soon will make it even better. So stay tuned if you want to see the second part of that loader. Is coming up very soon. We're hoping to get back working on it very shortly. Those of you that are following us already would have seen all this equipment in action and seen a more detailed version of them all. This isn't reviews. This is just giving you an idea of the machinery we use. Your machinery list might be completely different. Feel free to stick down a few that you think I might have missed, but for me, these are mostly the ones that I would use on a daily basis and would get the most use out of. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, now's your chance. Get down there, click that sub button, give us a like, put a comment down below. We'll do our best to get back to them. Over on Instagram, you can follow us to get daily updates and what's happening on the farm. Ring that little bell on the right hand corner. It'll notify you when any of our videos is up. We get videos up on a weekly basis, and until the next one, we'll catch you again.